Over the past year, I've been learning to appreciate different members, mediums, and many other things in between. I mean, there's at least 3 videos I've done on my channel relatively recently that show this. But there's one subject, one driver, that I haven't fully shown and given the spotlight to. And that driver is Kevin Harvick. Now, Harvick is not underrated. Notice I did not say underrated. I said underappreciated. Many know about how good Kevin Harvick is, but instead of appreciating how good he is, people still despise and belittle any accomplishment the man has done in the sport. He isn't hated to the levels of Kyle Busch or even Denny Hamlin, but at this point, he's getting up there. So with this, I want to explore why. For this, I really want to look at 3 major factors that people most look at when they analyze Harvick's career. Firstly, his years at RCR. Secondly, his career after RCR up to today with him racing at SHR. And finally, Harvick's off-track issues and drama over the years. Starting off, we have to look at how Harvick started off his Cup career. Harvick had been catching the eye of both his team owner in the Busch Series, Richard Childress, as well as Dale Earnhardt. After the 2000 season, he seemed primed to have an inevitable jump up to the Cup Series. He finished 3rd in the 2000 Busch Series points, only behind champion Jeff Green and runner-up Jason Keller. A plan was in place for Harvick to run 5 or so races part-time in an RCR ride in 2001, before driving the AOL Chevrolet in 2002. Meanwhile, he would run for the 2001 Busch Series Championship. But much of that plan would need to be revised after the tragic death of Dale Earnhardt. Harvick would assume the now vacant 3, rebranded to be a white 29 car. And 3 weeks later, Harvick put RCR, the fans, and the sport itself on his young shoulders as he won at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And the good momentum from that win only continued for Harvick throughout the season, as he scored a 2nd win and a 9th place points finish. And on top of that, Harvick ended up being the 2001 Busch Series champion. The future looked bright for Harvick at RCR, but that would only begin a roller coaster ride of results in his career. Sure, Harvick finished between 3rd and 5th in the standings 6 times between 2001 and 2013, but he also finished outside the top 10 in points 4 times as well. In his 13 years at RCR and Cup, he scored 23 wins and competed for championships in 2006, 2010, and 2013. It was clear that Harvick was an incredibly talented driver, but no one really could put a finger on just how good of a talent Kevin Harvick was. Starting in 2014, this would begin to change. After a much publicized breakup with RCR, Harvick would join Tony Stewart over at Stewart-Haas Racing. In only his first season with the team, Harvick would manage to cement the largest part of what will one day end up being an incredible legacy: his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. This also started a career run that most didn't see coming. In 6.5 seasons so far, Harvick has scored 32 of his wins, 121 top 5s, and 172 top 10s. For his 19.5-year career, this 6.5-year run accounts for 45% of his top 10s, 54% of his top 5s, and a staggering 58% of his career wins. He also has led for 10,476 laps, which is over 70% of his career laps led. 16% of the time that Kevin Harvick has been on track with SHR, he's been in the lead. These numbers are borderline generation defining. Yet it all comes from a guy who 7 years ago would have seemed far-fetched to do this, as a driver that many would consider a B-quality talent at that time. But in seeing how RCR has only earned 4 wins in the year since Harvick has left the team, we can probably see how RCR may have stunted Harvick's career growth. To put it bluntly, it took 2 all-time great drivers in Dale Earnhardt and Kevin Harvick to make RCR a Hall of Fame caliber team. These 2 drivers accounted for all but 10 of RCR's Cup wins so far, combining for 91% of the wins. So, for Harvick to move teams was the best move he could have made in his career. So an outsider may be asking why NASCAR fans don't appreciate a driver like this. who seems to have been both a soft underdog and who also seems to be part of setting the sports standards for the better part of a decade. What it boils down to is the man himself. Kevin Harvick has always been a driver who won't back down both physically and also in opinion. He has always been controversial. In the early part of his career, Harvick was always in some sort of fight. His first full season wasn't completed until 2003 because he had a one-race suspension in 2002 from this. To the NASCAR fandom in the mid-2000s, Harvick was actually kind of viewed as a spoiled brat. While cooling down heading into the 2010s, he still, of course, was controversial, sparring in the media with Richard Childress about his grandchildren and openly ripping the sport's most popular driver. But the biggest and seemingly most unforgivable sin was tampering with the 2015 Fall Talladega finish, causing a caution that kept him high enough in the running order to move him up another round in the chase. This both gave unpopular driver Joey Logano the win, while also keeping the sport's most popular driver out of the next round as well. This, along with all of the other actions, has piled up over the years to drape a film of disdain over Harvick. This is why fans don't appreciate his unquestionable driving ability. As for me, a fan of the driver he screwed in 2015, I figured out just how to remove the driver overall from his actions. Kevin Harvick is a top 10 driver all time in NASCAR history. But that's all I've got to say on it, really. Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Kevin Harvick? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.